Hello and welcome to the ABM 101 course. I'm really delighted you're here. Let me go through what we're going to be covering in this particular class. So this class is part of the ABM 101 course. So in this introduction, I'm going to go through a little bit about the course structure, a bit about me, and then we'll dive into why ABM. In the rest of the ABM 101 course, we're going to review the 7 basic principles of ABM. I've split that up actually into 2 classes because there's quite a lot to go through. We'll then also have a class on how to get started with ABM. So this will be actually help you get started in designing an ABM pilot. Now, this ABM course is part of a 5-part ABM program. So part 1, course 1 is the ABM 101 course. And then we have 4 courses that will actually help you start to develop a strategy, put ABM into action in helping you acquire new customers, put ABM into action in growing your existing customers, and then finish with a course on how to scale and grow ABM across your organization. And those courses, as those courses become available, you'll be notified. At the end of this particular course, the ABM 101 course, you're going to get a lot of different assets that you can start putting into action. So you're going to get all four course presentations, the presentations from each one of these 4 classes. You're going to get the total customer growth framework. I'm going to explain total customer growth as we go through the course. And then you're going to get a load of tools and templates to help you get started with ABM. This course is designed to help you understand the concepts, but really get moving into action with ABM. So the learning objectives of today's class is threefold. First of all, I want to help you understand why ABM is such an important strategy to master, how it can help you. And to do that, I'm going to have to dive into sort of why B2B marketing is so hard and why it doesn't quite work as well as it really should do, and maybe as well as it used to do. And then last but not least, I'm going to help you understand what ABM is and why it works. Okay. So before I get going, I want to tell you a little bit about me. So I have 2 hats currently. I'm the CEO of a company called Health Launchpad. This is an ABM specialist consultancy that focuses exclusively on the healthcare sector. I'm also the CEO of an organization called Total Customer Growth. This is a whole bunch of things. First of all, it's an ABM consultancy for non-healthcare business, financial services, technology, etc. It's also a collective of consultants who specialize in ABM. Before I founded these 2 companies, I was the CEO and founder of a technology company, a healthcare technology company called Unify Health. And this is where I really started to understand the value of ABM. I used it in growing that company in 2 ways. I used it to help acquire customers. And then in the sort of latter stages of the company, before we sold the company to a bigger organizations, we used ABM practices to dramatically grow our existing customer base. And throughout the courses, you're going to learn more about how you can do the same thing with ABM. Now, prior to this, my entrepreneurial journey, I spent over 3 decades in the marketing services and consultancy world. I was an executive at several agencies where I had the privilege of working with big clients like IBM, Compaq, Dell, to name but a few, Bank of America. I then later on gained a lot of healthcare experience when I had my software company. So in addition to being an entrepreneur, I'm also an author, a podcaster, and I'm an ABM evangelist. You can connect to me or follow me on LinkedIn. If you go on LinkedIn and search for Adam Turinas, I think I'm the only one that's the only Adam Turinas, and you can follow me, and you'll see, you know, what I post daily about B2B marketing and particularly about ABM. Okay, so let's get on with the course. First of all, I'm going to start with this big question, and this is what really most of the rest of this particular class is why ABM is so important. We did a survey in our company late last year where we polled healthcare sales and marketing executives. 90% of them said that B2B sales and marketing is getting harder. And when we interview people from the sales and marketing professionals from any industry, we hear 5 key themes. We call these the 5 C's. So first of all, sales cycles are getting increasingly complex and typically much longer. Part of this is driven by number 2, which is that buying groups, so the groups who are involved in the decision about which vendors to go with, are getting larger, and they make decisions increasingly by consensus. The third factor is, as I'm sure you all experience, is compliance, both around new legislations or around cybersecurity, really slow down the decision-making process. The fourth reason is, is that competitive choice is becoming overwhelming. And one of the things that concerns me is that with AI, the barriers to entry are going to get lower and lower. And so particularly in software, I believe that competitive intensity is going to get even worse in the coming years. The last issue and the last C is the one I probably want to spend the most time on, and that is that the buyers have greater control. And the reason is that the internet makes it so much easier for them to manage the process and gather information on their own. So this is a piece of research done by Gartner. And what it shows is where buying groups spend their time over a buying cycle. And the depressing thing is they only spend 17% of their time actually speaking with potential suppliers and vendors. The rest of the time is spent doing research on their own or talking amongst themselves. So that is it. So as a marketer, the biggest challenge is how do you engage with them when they're in that 83% of the time not talking directly to you or your competitors. Now, the good news is that buyers do actually need help. The downside is they don't engage with you until too late. So what this slide shows is a couple of things. And this is based on some research conducted by a group called the Corporate Executive Board, which is a part of Gartner. What they did was they interviewed buying groups across multiple industries, and they talked to thousands of different B2B buyers. And what they found is that buyers buy in 3 phases. First of all, they spend a lot of time as a buying group defining the problem. They then spend an awful lot of time defining how they're going to solve the problem. What are the options that they have to solve it? It's only later in the decision making that they actually engage with buyers. Now, the interesting thing to me is that when you ask them how hard is each step, the step of defining the problem is somewhat hard. The hardest point, and frankly, where they need the most help and the most information, is actually figuring out what solutions they should be considering. And this is where I feel as a B2B marketer is where we can make the greatest impact. The problem is we don't typically engage B2B vendors until much later in the process. In fact, what they found was that 57% of buyers have already decided on a vendor by the time they reach out to anyone else. Pretty depressing, I think you'll agree. Now, not surprisingly, when you ask marketers, what is the biggest challenge that they have? And this is a recent piece of research done in 2023. When you ask them what are the biggest challenges that they face over the next 3 years, the number one challenge is identifying and engaging the right B2B buyers. And I want to break down one of the reasons why I think that's the case. And this is what I call the 557 problem. So bear with me as I explain this. In any given market, buyers tend to renew their technology, their software, or the service companies that they work with kind of on average every 5 years. Sometimes it's longer, sometimes it's a bit short, less than 5 years, but typically on average every 5 years. So if you think about that, what that means is that if you've got a total available market, 100% of your available market, only 20% of that market, of those accounts would be in market in any given year. And in any given quarter, it's only 5%. So a quarter of 20% are in market. So that means in any given year, only 5% of your accounts will actually be in market. Now, you may have heard of this. It's called the 595 problem. I think it's worse than that. Because if you go back to the stat that I put up on the previous slide, which showed that 57% of buyers have already made a decision by the time they engage with you, that means that in reality, it's really only 57% of 5%, which is 2% of your total available market is actually in market at any time. So that means that 98% of your total available market is not going to be listening to what your market is, not going to be open to hearing your marketing and want to actually engage with you. And to make it even more depressing, if you think about what sort of a typical B2B marketing and communications plan looks like, it's actually depressingly wasteful. So PR will, you'll try and get that to focus on your available market, but it leaks outside. You can target your LinkedIn to specific accounts, but you don't know which ones are actually in market. Your SDRs may be calling off cold lists. So the chances are that most of who they're calling are not remotely interesting. And certainly the conversion rates would suggest that. It's the same with events and webinars. It's the same with syndicated content. And PPC is a bit more focused in terms of how it actually, how it actually reaches your audience. And it's even harder because it can take as many as 25 touches to make a sale. So the depressing thing is that the sort of traditional B2B marketing approach is pretty inefficient and pretty wasteful. Now, ABM is a key part of the answer of how you can actually develop a better process. So ABM is about several things. And I like to think of it as sort of, at a high level, it's really about pinpointing who is in market, finding them earlier in their buying process, using content and other tactics designed to help them in their buying process. So basically, and I'll come on to this in the ABM principles, it's marketing to them in the way that they buy. The fourth aspect is it's about engaging them through personalized experience. Customization and personalization is very important, ABM. And last but not least, it's about creating a long-term customer growth system. And I'm going to talk about that as we explore this notion of total customer growth. But think of it as you're going to reinvent the way that you as an organization market and sell to customers so that you can win and grow profitable customers for life. So I want to close with a couple of things. So one of the questions that comes up is, does ABM work? And this is a very important question because ABM is not easy. It's one of the toughest transitions to go through from a marketing perspective. And I think many people fail with it and struggle with it the first couple of times they try it. And so it's worth exploring why it's worth sticking at it. There's a great organization called ITSMA that is primarily a research organization, and they've been studying the ABM for a decade or so now. And they conduct an annual benchmarking study, and this is from their most recent study. And this is it's a study done across several hundred ABM practitioners, and they asked them, what is the business impact of ABM? And what they found is that 90% of ABM practitioners say they get active engagement with selected accounts. 84% say it contributes to pipeline growth. 77% say that's revenue growth. 72%, nearly 3/4, say that ABM delivers a higher ROI than other marketing types. And then 2/3 say that ABM is a contributor in improving the alignment between sales and marketing. Okay, so that's coming to the end of this class. What we're going to cover in part 2 and also part 3 as well, the second and third classes of this course, are the basic principles of ABM. So in summary, let me tell you what those principles are. ABM is principle number 1 is about finding best fit customers. Principle number 2 is it's about looking for in-market prospects. It's about marketing to these prospects the way that customers buy. It's about using 3 different flavors of ABM. It's about using personalization to get personal and engaged with these customers. It's also, you're going to need to develop a new set of measures that are ABM centric. And last but not least is that essential alignment between sales and marketing. So I'll look forward to seeing you in the next class. Just one last thing though, before we break for this particular class, I do want to tell you about something. I actually want to give you an offer. I published a book this year called Total Customer Growth. It's available on Amazon and it costs $15 on Amazon, but I actually want to offer it to you for free. All you need to do is actually pay $3.92. So maybe not free, but $10 off. All you need to do is go to totalcustomergrowth.com, totalcustomergrowth.com, and you can fill out the shipping form, and you'll get a copy of the book in the next week. The book is divided up into 4 parts. It goes into a lot of depth about the strategic foundations of total customer growth, and it talks about how you can put ABM into action. So I'm going to be teaching a lot of this in this course, but you can get in the next courses that I'm going to be rolling out. But you can get a jump start on that by reading this book, and it also talks about ABM to ABX and then getting moving and scaling. The reviews have been really positive. Charles Cantu is a great entrepreneur, and he called it a rock solid ABM Bible. Drew Neisser is a real guru in B2B marketing, and I felt so privileged to get this review from him where he praised it for being a fresh take on ABM. So if you want to get your free copy, go to totalcustomergrowth.com. Okay, so that's the end of this course, of this class rather, and I'll look forward to seeing you on the next class where we'll start to explore the principles of ABM.